The night was cold, darker than any she had known. Her small body shook as she walked through the ruins of a broken city. She carried her baby close to her chest, wrapped in torn cloth. The child was weak, his breath shallow, his tiny cries fading. She was hungry, helpless, and ready to give up. Smoke rose from the ground. Fires still burned where machines had destroyed her village. Every corner felt dangerous. Every shadow whispered of death. Her people were gone, scattered or killed, and she had nothing left but the child in her arms. Her steps were heavy, her strength almost gone. She wanted to fall, to close her eyes forever, but the baby's faint whimper pulled her forward. Her stomach ached with hunger, her lips dry with thirst. The baby had not eaten for days, only surviving on the warmth of her body. She looked at the stars, praying to the sky that someone, anyone would help. But no one came. Hope felt like a story she no longer believed. She sank to her knees beside a ruined wall. Her arms trembled, and the baby gave a weak cough. Tears blurred her vision. She whispered, "I cannot save you, little one." Her voice cracked like glass. Her heart broke at the thought that her child's last breath might come in her arms. Suddenly, she heard footsteps, heavy and careful. Her eyes widened, fear racing through her. She pressed the baby closer, hiding behind the rubble. The sound grew nearer. A tall figure appeared from the smoke, not one of her kind, not an enemy she knew. It was a human. The man wore armor, scratched and battered. His face was tired, his eyes sharp. He carried a weapon in one hand, but lowered it when he saw her. For a moment, both froze. Two survivors staring across the ruins. The alien mother's breath quickened. She thought of running, but her legs could not move. She thought of fighting, but she had no strength. The human took one slow step forward. His voice was calm, deep. "I am not here to hurt you," he said. She could not understand every word, but his tone carried peace. The baby gave another weak cry. The human's eyes softened. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small package. Food, real food. The smell made her stomach twist with pain. She shook her head, fear clouding her mind. Humans were strangers, outsiders, sometimes killers in the stories she had heard. But her baby's cries grew sharper, desperate. The human knelt down, placing the food on the ground between them. He did not move closer. He only watched, waiting. The alien mother's hands trembled as she reached out. She tore the package open, feeding the child first. The baby's lips moved weakly, tasting life again. Her tears fell as she held him tighter. The human spoke again, his voice low. "You cannot stay here." He pointed to the sky where dark shapes moved, drones, machines searching the ruins. Her heart raced. She knew the drones would kill anything alive. The human offered his hand. His eyes told her to trust him. Every part of her wanted to refuse. But the baby's tiny breath against her chest made the choice for her. With shaking fingers, she placed her hand in his. The human pulled her up, steadying her weak body. He moved fast, leading her through the broken streets. Every shadow felt alive, every sound a warning. She followed, clutching her baby, praying he would not slip away. The human stopped suddenly. Raising his weapon, a drone hovered above, its red eye scanning. Her heart froze. If it saw them, they were dead. The human aimed and fired. A burst of light cut through the night. The drone fell burning to the ground. He turned to her, urgent. "Quiet, keep moving." She obeyed, her body shaking, her mind racing. Why would a human risk himself for her? Why would he care about an alien child? As they disappeared into the ruins, the alien mother looked down at her baby. The child's eyes fluttered open for a moment, a spark of life returning. Her chest filled with something she had thought lost, hope. Perhaps this strange human was not an enemy. Perhaps he was the only reason her baby would live to see another sunrise. The night still whispered with danger, but for the first time, she did not walk alone. For the first time, there was a chance. And that chance was enough to keep her moving. The ruins were silent except for the crunch of boots and the faint whimper of a baby. The human walked ahead, scanning every corner with sharp eyes. The alien mother followed, weak and unsure, clutching her child as if he were the last light in the universe. Her steps dragged, but the human slowed his pace to match hers. He kept looking back, as if to remind her she was not alone. They stopped in the shell of a collapsed building. The air smelled of ash, walls broken like bones here. The human motioned for her to rest. She lowered herself to the ground, breathing hard. Her arms trembled as she held her baby, who cried softly, hungry again. The human knelt beside her, removing his helmet. His face was worn with scars, but his expression was calm, not cruel, not hostile. She studied him with fear and suspicion, yet also with desperate need. He reached into his pack and took out more supplies. A small container of water, a packet of food that smelled sweet and rich. He placed them gently in front of her. Her eyes narrowed, her body stiff. She had grown up hearing that humans only helped themselves, that they saw other races as tools or enemies. Her instincts told her not to trust, but the cries of her baby drowned those doubts. Her trembling hands opened the packet. She tore small pieces and placed them in the baby's mouth. The child swallowed weakly, his tiny face relaxing as warmth filled his body. She let out a shaky breath, tears sliding down her cheeks. The human watched silently, not forcing, not demanding thanks, only observing, as if he understood. When the baby finally slept, the alien mother's eyes lifted to the human. She whispered in her own tongue, voice raw, "Why? Why help me?" He tilted his head, not understanding the words, but perhaps he understood the question in her eyes. He placed a hand on his chest, then pointed to her baby. His voice was low, steady. "No child deserves to die, even if the keel." Words were not clear to her. The meaning was, her heart ached, not with fear this time, but with something she could not name. The human offered the water next. She hesitated, then drank, the cool liquid burning her dry throat. Every sip gave her strength she had thought lost forever. Her body felt alive again. Though her spirit still carried wounds, she wanted to thank him, but the words stayed locked inside. Instead, she simply nodded, clutching the baby closer. The night outside grew darker, shadows crawling over the ruins. The human checked his weapon, listening to distant echoes. He spoke again, slow, clear. "Danger," he said, pointing to the horizon where machines searched. "Stay close." She did not argue. Her fear too deep. When he moved, she followed. Step by step, her trust grew, not from choice, but from survival. They passed through empty streets, once filled with life. Broken toys lay in the dust, doors shattered, windows black. Her chest tightened, remembering her own village. The laughter of children, the warmth of family. Now only silence remained. Her baby stirred in his sleep, and she held him tighter. She swore she would not let his life fade away, not while she still breathed. And now, with this human by her side, maybe she could keep that promise. The human suddenly raised his hand, signaling for silence. She froze, heart pounding. Through the mist came the faint hum of drones, their red lights scanning, searching. The human guided her into the cover of a collapsed wall. He crouched low, weapon ready. Her breath caught in her throat as the machines drew closer. The baby whimpered, and she covered his mouth gently, praying he would stay quiet. The drone's shadow passed over them. Her heart raced so hard she thought it would give them away. The human stayed still as stone when the machine moved on, fading into the distance. Only then did he breathe again. He looked at her, his eyes sharp, as if asking if she was still steady. She nodded. Though her body shook, they moved again. Slower, more cautious. Every step carried the weight of survival. Every glance at the human filled her with more questions. Why risk his life for strangers? Why not leave her behind? Perhaps humans were not all as the stories told. Perhaps kindness could exist even between enemies. At last, they reached a hidden tunnel beneath the ruins. The human led her down into the darkness where the cold was. Sharper but safer, he lit a small light, revealing a space that smelled of dust, but offered shelter. He motioned for her to sit. She lowered herself, exhausted, but relieved. For the first time in days, she felt a small piece of safety. She laid the baby down beside her. Touching his small hand, he slept peacefully, his chest rising and falling. With new strength, the human sat across from her, his weapon resting by his side. He did not speak, only watched with guarded eyes. Yet in the silence, she felt his presence was more than protection. It was a promise, unspoken, but real. A promise that she was not alone anymore. The alien mother closed her eyes, her body still weak, but in her heart, something new stirred, not fear, not despair, but the faint warmth of trust, the kind of trust that could grow into hope. And though the world above still hunted them, though danger had not ended, she clutched her baby and thought, perhaps tomorrow would not be the end. Perhaps tomorrow would be the beginning. The tunnel was dark and silent, but silence did not mean safety. The alien mother sat with her child resting in her lap. The faint light from the human's lamp flickered against the stone walls. She tried to keep her eyes open, but exhaustion pulled at her. Every part of her body begged for rest. Still, she feared that if she slept, she might wake to find her baby gone. The human sat nearby, back against the wall. His weapon always in reach, he looked calm, but his eyes never stopped moving. He listened to every sound, the drip of water, the echo of distant steps, the hum of machines above. She wondered how long he had been fighting, how many nights he had survived like this. Scars marked his face, his armor dented. He looked like someone who had seen death and kept walking. The baby stirred, letting out a weak cry. She rocked him gently, whispering words of comfort in her language. The human watched, and for the first time, a small smile touched his face. It was brief, almost hidden, but it softened the harsh lines of his features. He opened his pack and pulled out another packet of food. This time he tore it in half, giving a piece to her, keeping the other for himself. She hesitated, then accepted, her hunger too sharp to refuse. The food filled her mouth with warmth, a reminder of what life could feel like. For a moment, she forgot the ruin outside. For a moment, she was only a mother feeding her child. But safety was fragile. The human suddenly tensed, raising his hand for silence. She froze, holding her breath. From above came the grinding sound of metal shifting. Voices followed, not human, not of her people, but cold, mechanical. The hunters were near. Her heart pounded, fear gripping her like ice. The human put out the light, plunging them into darkness. He motioned for her to hold the child close and stay quiet. The baby whimpered, and she pressed him against her chest, praying his cries would not carry. The sound above grew louder, heavy boots and machines moving. A red light cut through the cracks of the tunnel entrance. The human raised his weapon, ready to fire if they were discovered. Her breath came fast, her whole body trembling. She thought of running, but there was nowhere to go. Trapped like animals in a cage, then came the metallic voice, echoing through the ruins above. Scan for survivors. Her blood ran cold. The machines wanted no life to remain, no witness, no mercy. She looked to the human, desperate. He gave her a firm nod, as if telling her not to lose hope. He moved silently toward the entrance, setting a small device on the ground. It blinked faintly, almost invisible in the dark. He returned and motioned for her to stay down. The noise above shifted, the drones scanning, the soldiers searching. Then the device sparked, sending a sharp sound echoing through another part of the ruins. The machines reacted instantly, stomping away toward the noise. Her chest loosened with relief, though her fear did not fade. The human had tricked them, but it would not last. They would return, and stronger. When the sounds finally faded, the human relit the lamp. His face was hard, his jaw tight. He whispered one word she understood. "Move," she obeyed, clutching her baby. Following him deeper into the tunnel, her body wanted to collapse, but survival pushed her forward. The tunnel stretched on, winding into the earth. The walls grew damp, the air heavy. She stumbled more than once, but each time the human reached out, steadying her, though she still feared him, though she still questioned his reason. Each time he helped her stand, her trust grew, even if only a little. Finally they reached a cavern, hidden and wide. Old supplies were scattered, broken crates, rusted tools, empty barrels. It seemed once a shelter, long abandoned. The humans searched the area, checking every corner before signaling it was safe. She lowered herself to the ground, exhausted. The baby slept soundly again, stronger than before. Her hands trembled as she stroked his small head. For the first time, she allowed herself to breathe without panic. But the peace did not last. A low hum filled the cavern, vibrating through the walls. She looked up in fear, eyes wide. The human's expression darkened. He raised his weapon, pointing toward the shadows from the far side of the cavern. A light flickered, not the soft glow of a lamp, but the sharp red glare of a machine. The danger had followed them. Her heart sank. The human stepped in front of her, shielding her and the baby with his own body. The machine emerged, tall and cold, its metal frame glinting in the dim light. It was not a drone but something worse. A hunter unit, built for killing survivors. Its voice hissed. Target detected. The alien mother's blood turned to ice. She held her baby tighter, unable to move. The human's stance was firm, his weapon steady. He did not back away. He was ready to fight, and in that moment, she realized this stranger was not only her protector, he was the only wall between life and death, between hope and despair. The cavern filled with the sound of the machine charging its weapon. The human narrowed his eyes, ready to strike. The hidden danger had found them, and survival would depend on what happened next. The machine's red eye glowed in the cavern, casting a cold light over the walls. The alien mother clutched her baby tighter, her heart beating like a drum in her chest. The human stood between them and the machine, his body steady, weapon raised. For a moment, the cavern held its breath, waiting for the first move. The hunter machine spoke in a sharp metallic tone. Unauthorized life detected. Eliminate. The human did not flinch. He moved fast, firing his weapon. The flash lighting up the dark. The machine staggered but did not fall. Its armor was strong. It fired back, beams of red slicing through the air. Stone shattered, sparks flew. The cavern shook with the echo of battle. The alien mother cried out, curling her body over her child. Dust filled her lungs, fear clawed at her throat. She wanted to run, but her legs refused, her eyes fixed on the human, who fought like a storm. Every movement was precise, every shot fired with purpose. He dodged the machine's attacks, striking again and again. At last he hurled a small device. It exploded with light, blinding the hunter. The machine screeched, stumbling back, its systems failing. With one final shot, the human brought it crashing down. The cavern fell silent, the smell of smoke lingering in the air. The human lowered his weapon, chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He turned to her, his face shadowed but his eyes sharp. He spoke one word. Safe. She could not believe it. She had seen death in his hands, yet it had been turned against her enemy, not her. Her child stirred, letting out a small cry. Alive, still alive. Tears filled her eyes as she pressed her forehead to the baby's. For the first time, she felt something other than fear. She felt gratitude. The human walked closer, kneeling beside her. He did not reach for her child, did not make demands. Instead, he opened his pack and pulled out more supplies. Food, medicine, cloth to wrap the baby. He placed them carefully in front of her. Like offerings of peace, her hands shook as she reached out, touching the cloth, soft, clean, something she had not felt in days. She wrapped her child tighter, the warmth spreading through both of them. Her eyes met the human's. She whispered, her voice weak, "Why?" He did not understand the word, but he seemed to understand the question. He touched his chest, then pointed to her, then the baby. He said slowly, "Life." The simple word carried weight. It told her he was not saving her for gain or power. He was saving her because life itself mattered to him. Hours passed in the cavern. The human set up a small fire, its glow soft and warm. She sat across from him, still wary, but no longer afraid. The baby slept peacefully, his tiny breath steady. The human cleaned his weapon, repaired his gear, all with practiced hands, every so often. He glanced at her and the baby, as if to make sure they were still there, still safe, in the silence. She found herself studying him. He was not like the humans the stories had spoken of. Those stories had painted them as destroyers, selfish and cruel. But this one had risked his life again and again for her and her child. Was it possible that kindness lived even in those once called enemies? Her mind struggled, but her heart knew the answer. Later, when the baby woke and cried, the human reached into his pack. He handed her something small and sweet-smelling. Her baby nibbled weakly at it, his eyes fluttering open with more strength than before. She gasped softly, hope filling her chest. The human smiled faintly at the sight, and in that moment, she knew he cared. The night deepened, but the cavern felt almost safe. The fire crackled, the shadows danced. She wrapped her cloak tighter and leaned against the wall. Her eyes grew heavy, but she did not feel the same terror of before. Her child rested in her arms, warm and breathing, and across the fire, the human kept watch, his weapon ready. She realized he was not just protecting her. He was protecting the bond forming between them, a bond not of blood, but of survival. Sleep finally claimed her, though lightly. She dreamed of her village, of laughter, of peace. And when she woke to the sound of shifting stone, she found the human still there, still guarding. He had not left, not even for a moment. For the first time since the war began, she did not feel alone. For the first time, she believed there might be a tomorrow. Her eyes softened as she looked at the human. She whispered quietly, almost too soft to hear, "Thank you." Even if he did not understand the words, he seemed to understand her heart. His nod was simple, but it spoke louder than any language. The bond of survival had been forged in fire and fear, but now it was stronger than either had expected. And though danger still hunted them outside, in that cavern, a fragile hope had been born, a hope that would carry them forward into whatever waited next. The cavern had given them shelter, but safety never lasted long in a world like this. The alien mother awoke to the sound of heavy rumbling above. The ground shook as machines moved through the ruins, their search relentless. Her baby whimpered in his sleep, sensing the danger. She pressed him close, whispering softly, but her own voice trembled with fear. The human was already on his feet, his weapon ready. His sharp eyes scanned the shadows, his body tense like a coiled spring. He had not rested, not even for a moment. It was as if he had known this peace could never last. He looked at her and spoke quickly, pointing toward a narrow passage at the back of the cavern. "Go," he said, even if she did not understand every word. The urgency in his voice was clear. She clutched her child and moved, her heart racing. The tunnel twisted, damp and dark. Her steps echoed softly as she followed the human deeper. But behind them, the sound of metal claws scraping stone grew louder. The hunters had tracked them. Her chest tightened, fear crushing her. She looked back and saw red lights flickering in the distance. They were coming, faster than she could move. Her legs faltered, but the human placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, urging her forward. The tunnel ended in a steep drop. Below lay another cavern, lit faintly by cracks in the earth. The human pointed, then motioned for her to climb down. Her eyes widened in panic, with the baby in her arms. The descent seemed impossible, but he crouched low, meeting her gaze. He gestured again, slower this time, his eyes firm but gentle. "Trust me," his look said. Her breath shook, but she obeyed. Step by step, she climbed, holding the baby against her chest. Her feet slipped on the damp stone, but the human was always there, guiding, steadying. At last she reached the ground below. Collapsing to her knees in exhaustion, the baby cried weakly, and she soothed him with trembling hands above. The human dropped down beside her, his landing swift and silent, but there was no time to rest. The hunters had reached the upper tunnel, their metallic voices echoing. Target detected. Pursue. The human raised his weapon, eyes narrowing. He pulled a small device from his belt and handed it to her. It was round, glowing faintly, a beacon of some kind. He pointed to it, then to the far end of the cavern where another tunnel waited. Go, follow light, he said firmly. She shook her head, fear gripping her heart. She did not want to leave him, but his gaze hardened, leaving no room for refusal. He turned back toward the tunnel where the hunters advanced, weapon ready, body tense. She hesitated, her chest aching. Why would he stay behind? Why would he risk himself for her, for a child that was not his? But the answer was already in his actions. He was willing to give everything to protect life. Her throat tightened, tears burning her eyes. Still, she obeyed, clutching the beacon. And moving toward the exit, her baby whimpered, and she whispered, "Quiet, little one, quiet." Her steps echoed through the cavern as she hurried away. Behind her, the battle erupted. The human's weapon roared, its light cutting through the dark. Metal clashed, sparks flew. The hunters shrieked in their mechanical voices. The ground shook with the force of the fight. Every sound tore at her heart. She wanted to turn back, but she forced herself forward. She had to trust him, had to believe his sacrifice meant survival. The tunnel stretched long, twisting like a maze. Her legs burned. Her arms ached from holding the baby. The beacon pulsed in her hand, guiding her. Through the darkness, she stumbled, almost falling, but she kept moving. The cries of machines behind her grew faint, swallowed by distance. Still, she feared what those cries meant for the human. Finally, she reached an opening. The night sky stretched above, stars dimmed by smoke. She collapsed against the stone wall, gasping for breath. Her baby stirred. Opening his eyes with a weak whimper, she kissed his forehead, her tears falling. "You are safe," she whispered, though her voice broke. Safe, but at what cost? Far behind, she heard one last echo. A great explosion shook the earth. Light flashing in the distance, her chest clenched. Was it victory? Or was it the end of the man who had saved them again and again? She pressed the baby close, rocking gently. Her tears wet the child's cloth. She wanted to believe he had survived. She wanted to believe his sacrifice was not the end, but the beginning. The night wind blew through the ruins. Carrying ash and silence, she looked up at the stars, her heart aching with both grief and hope. The human had risked everything for her child. She had no words for it, no way to repay it, but she swore to herself that his sacrifice would not be wasted. She would carry his strength forward. She would protect her baby, no matter the cost. And if he still lived, somewhere in the smoke and ruins, she would find him again. Because bonds forged in survival were not so easily broken, and sacrifice was not the end. It was the seed of something greater. The night stretched long above the ruins. The alien mother sat at the edge of the broken tunnel, her baby pressed tightly against her chest. Her heart still echoed with the memory of the explosion behind her, the sound of sacrifice, the sound of a man who had stood against machines so she and her child could live. She wanted to believe he was still alive, but fear whispered otherwise. Her tears had dried, leaving only emptiness. Yet when she looked at her baby, his small eyes half open, a spark of life glowing in them, she felt something stir inside her. It was not despair. It was not weakness, it was strength. Born from the human's courage, she whispered to her child, "We will live, we will fight." Her voice was low but steady. The ruins around her were silent. But silence carried danger. She needed to move, to find food, water, safety. She had always relied on others before the village, her family, then the human. But now she realized survival rested on her own hands. Her baby's tiny life was tied to her strength. If she gave up, he would be lost, and she could not let that happen. Slowly she stood, adjusting the cloth that bound the child to her chest. Her legs ached, her body weak. but her spirit pushed forward. She began to move through the ruins, step by step. Every corner felt heavy with shadows, but her fear no longer ruled her. She carried more than fear now. She carried the memory of a man who had shown her that one life could matter against the machines. As dawn broke, light touched the broken buildings. Ash floated in the air like falling snow. She searched the empty homes, finding scraps of cloth, a cracked container for water, a broken knife, small things, but enough to feel less helpless. Her baby stirred, and she fed him what little food remained from the human's pack. Each bite he took filled her with determination. He was alive, and as long as he breathed, she could not falter, but danger was never far. As she crossed an open street, the distant hum of drones reached her ears. Her chest tightened, her body tensed. She ducked behind rubble, covering the baby with her cloak. Two machines passed overhead, their red eyes scanning. She held her breath, her heart pounding. When they vanished into the distance, she let out a shaky sigh. The fear was still there, but this time it did not break her. Instead, it sharpened her resolve. Later, she found a small underground shelter. Hidden beneath collapsed stone, it smelled of dust and rust, but it offered safety for a moment. She lowered herself inside, resting against the wall. Her baby slept peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling. She touched his hand, her voice soft. "We will keep moving, little one, but we are not weak anymore." As night returned, a sound came from the distance. Not machines, not drones, but something heavier, slower. Her body stiffened, fear creeping back. She rose, knife in hand, ready to defend her child. From the shadows stepped a figure. Her breath caught. It was the human. His armor was burned, his face bruised, his steps unsteady. But he was alive. He carried no pack now, only his weapon, half broken. For a long moment, she could only stare, disbelief flooding her. Then relief washed over her like fire. Her knees weakened, but her spirit soared. He had survived. Against all odds, he had lived. The human's eyes softened when he saw her. Then the baby. A faint smile touched his lips. Though his body swayed with exhaustion, she moved to his side, slipping her arm under his to steady him. This time, it was she who gave support, she who carried strength. They reached the corner of the shelter together. She offered him the scraps she had gathered. Water, cloth, and a share of food. He accepted with a quiet nod. His eyes filled with something unspoken respect. Through the night, she tended to his wounds. Her hands were clumsy, but careful. She cleaned the cuts, wrapped the cloth, gave him water. He watched her silently, his expression unreadable. But in his silence, there was trust. The same trust he had asked of her when he first held out his hand. Now it was her turn to give back. The baby stirred, his small cry breaking the quiet. The human leaned closer, his tired eyes softening. For the first time, the alien mother noticed how deeply he cared, not just for survival, not just for duty, but for life itself. Her fear of him faded completely, replaced by something new, a bond stronger than gratitude, stronger than need. It was respect. It was shared strength. By morning, the human was still weak, but alive. The alien mother looked at him, her voice firm though quiet. "We go together," she said. He may not have understood every word, but the meaning was clear. His faint smile returned, his nod sealing the promise. From that moment, they were no longer protector and helpless. They were partners, two lives bound together by survival, and a baby who carried their hope. The world outside was still broken, filled with machines and death, but within their bond, there was new strength. A strength born from sacrifice, from trust, and from the promise of tomorrow. The first rays of dawn touched the ruins, painting the broken world in pale gold. The alien mother stood at the edge of a shattered wall, her baby wrapped close to her chest. Beside her, the human rested against the stone, his body still weak, but his eyes sharp and steady. They had survived the night, but the world around them was still dangerous, still filled with enemies. She looked at her baby, his small hands curling as he dreamed. For days she had lived with nothing but fear, waiting for death to claim them. Now for the first time she saw something different. She saw life. The child's breath was strong, his cheeks less pale, his tiny eyes opening more often. He was not fading anymore, he was fighting. And she realized she was fighting too. The human pushed himself to his feet, limping slightly, but his will unbroken. He scanned the horizon with practiced eyes. Machines still roamed in the distance, their shadows dark against the light. But the path ahead seemed clearer than before. He turned to her, his hand motioning forward. "Move," he said simply, and she nodded without fear this time. Together they walked through the ruins, slow but steady. Every step was heavy with memory, yet lighter with hope. The alien mother found herself glancing at the human often. She had once seen him only as a stranger, maybe even a threat. Now he was something else. He was strength when she had none, a shield when she was helpless. And now, he was also proof that even in the darkest times, kindness could survive. They reached the edge of the ruined city. Fields of ash stretched before them. But beyond, faint shapes rose against the sky. Not machines, not ruins, but something different. Small shelters, smoke from fires, signs of life. Her chest tightened, tears filling her eyes. Others had survived. Others were still fighting. She was not alone in this world, not anymore. But the danger was not over. A low hum filled the air. Sharp and cold, she looked up to see drones circling, their red eyes glowing, her body tensed. Clutching the baby close, the human raised his weapon. Though it shook slightly in his wounded hands, the drones closed in, more than before. A swarm against two fragile survivors. For a heartbeat, despair threatened to return. But then the human looked at her, his eyes calm and fierce. He whispered one word she understood: together. The alien mother drew the broken knife she had carried. It was small, useless against machines, but in her grip it felt like more than a weapon. It was a promise she would not cower anymore. She would stand beside him. She shifted her baby to one arm, holding the knife in the other. The human gave her a look of respect, as if he had expected no less. The drones descended, beams of red tearing through the ground. The human fired, striking the first, then the second. Explosions lit the morning sky, smoke rising in clouds. She moved with him, ducking behind rubble, shielding her baby. When a drone slipped past, she struck with her knife, sparks flying as she cut through its sensors. It crashed to the ground, broken. Her heart raced. Not with fear, but with strength. She was no longer helpless. She was a mother fighting for her child, for their future. The battle raged, but step by step, they pushed through. When at last the final drone fell burning to the ash, silence returned. Her chest heaved with exhaustion, her arms trembling, but her baby was safe. Still breathing, still alive, the human lowered his weapon. His face streaked with dirt and sweat. He looked at her and gave a tired smile. For the first time she smiled back. A real smile, filled with more than relief, filled with hope. Together, they moved toward the distant shelters. The closer they came, the more certain she became that life still waited there. Perhaps there would be others who had lost everything, others who carried children, others who still dreamed. Perhaps there would be a place to rest, to rebuild. She looked at her baby, then at the human. This was not the end of their journey, it was only the beginning. The alien mother tightened her grip on the child, her voice strong as she whispered, "You will live, little one. You will see a world better than this." The human walked beside her, silent but steady. His presence was more than protection now. It was partnership. It was family forged in fire. They had faced hunger, fear, and death together, and now they faced the unknown future side by side. As the sun rose higher, its light touched the ruins and the survivors walking through them. The world was broken, but in the brokenness something new was born. A bond that would not be forgotten. A bond that carried them toward tomorrow. A future of hope. Asterisk.